Tinkle Like a Princess is the 16th episode of the 7th season of Two and a Half Men. This is directed by James Widdoes, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts. And it's a pretty decent episode. It starts off with Chelsea moving out, which is unfortunate, but as I've mentioned before, I don't really like her because she's quite boring. She's genuinely a really nice person, a really nice character, but she's a little boring, so I didn't find the scene to be that heavy. Clearly, Charlie's having issues with this. Once she leaves, he goes through to the kitchen where Alan and Berta are, and he strips almost naked and goes out into the water. And of course, Berta and Alan panic, go after him, realizing he's maybe trying to do something drastic, but then they spend quite a bit of time arguing about which of them should go into the water to save him. But before they get to decide, Charlie comes running back into the house because the water is too cold, which I thought was a nice way to pick the mood back up just a little bit. Alan then takes Charlie with him to go and pick up Jake, and Judith comforts Charlie, and it was really nice to see that occasionally Judith does have a heart, and that actually she can be a nice person. We don't see it often, but it does happen occasionally. Bearing in mind she was comforting Charlie and then saying all of these nasty things about Alan at the same time, so it was definitely very believable. And then Jake is talking with a girl called Nicole. She's played by Tabitha Morella, and Charlie all but yells at her, basically telling her that if she's going to dump him, she should do it now rather than years down the line when he's fallen in love with her, which was uncalled for, but it's very clear that Charlie's struggling emotionally. And he ends up going to church, which was very surprising, but we do later find out that it's just because he was looking for a parking spot, and there was a parking spot by the church, and he prays to God for some kind of sign that can help him get through things, an indication of what he should do to try and get through this difficult time. And the next thing he knows, there's a woman standing next to him. And we then cut back to the house, and he is carrying said woman over the threshold. This is Betsy, played by Katy, Mixon, Greer. And I have to say, she's a delightful character. She seems really sweet. She seems like a really nice person. And nice is great, but obviously getting married in Vegas after you've just met somebody, no matter how nice they are, is probably never a good decision. And Alan tries to convince Charlie of this, and Alan slaps Charlie, obviously trying to slap some sense into him, but it was quite a surprising moment, and Charlie just said, you get one of those, which I feel like says a lot about Charlie's mental state in that moment. And Charlie realizes that maybe he hasn't done the right thing, so he goes to speak with Chelsea. And he actually ends up speaking with her father and Ed, and I thought they were really great. I loved their interactions with each other. I thought that was quite nice to see. And then Chelsea comes back in from walking the dog. The dog is adorable, and we got to see her cat in this episode as well. So several animals in this episode. I'm quite happy with that. And she says that they should, while they're working out what they should do with their relationship, which I thought was quite interesting because I feel like it felt final with Chelsea moving out. That's not to say you can't move out and then figure out a way to make it work, but it felt final. But the way they were talking made it seem like Chelsea wasn't completely certain that it was right to break up. But she did suggest seeing other people. And to her credit, she also said that she shouldn't have tried to change Charlie. She should have accepted him for who he is, which I think is a very valid point. It's one thing to try and encourage somebody to be the best version of themselves, but there were times when Chelsea took it too far and basically tried to change him, more so early on in the relationship. So again, massive credit to her for saying all of the right things, and I do believe she meant everything that she said. And Charlie leaves, goes home, and Betsy's actual husband is there. And he's a delight. He's not angry. He's used to this. He thinks he's a lucky person. Absolutely crazy, but a very lovely character. And I thought that was a really nice way of wrapping the marriage up in one episode. Because obviously if she was already married, then Charlie is now not married to Betsy, because that would be not possible. So I thought that was a nice way to wrap it up. They could have dragged it on a little bit. And as I said, Betsy was a really likeable character, so if they'd kept her around, I would have been happy. Jake would have been very happy as well. Jake was very happy that she was around. And yeah, if they'd carried on the episode, or the marriage, a little bit longer, I wouldn't have minded, but I do think wrapping it up in one was a good decision. And ultimately, it's not a bad episode. It's nice of us to see the aftermath of the breakup. We have some comedy there, but I think some quite serious and very moving moments as well. It's very clear that Charlie is feeling a lot of things that he's maybe not used to feeling, and therefore, understandably, doesn't really know how to process these feelings and is making some not great decisions. And I'm sure he's not the only person in the world to do that after a breakup. So, not necessarily getting married in Vegas, although I'm sure there are people who find a rebound after a breakup and then get married very quickly. Generally, from stories that I've heard, it's when people suddenly find themselves alone and they're worried they'll be alone forever, so they get married very quickly. And it's clear that Charlie's in that kind of headspace. And on the one hand, it's not nice to see. But on the other, I think it's great for Charlie's character for having different sides to his character and showing us different sides to his personality. I think it's really important. And there are still glimmers of the old Charlie there as well. It's not like Chelsea just completely changed him. So, in general, I'd say that Tinkle Like a Princess is an all-round emotional and funny episode of Two and a Half Men, and I'm sure it's one I'll always enjoy.